Welcome to the Prodigal and the Priest podcast, a podcast about faith, sports, and two friends from different cultures. Here are your hosts, Joey Scansella and Father Paul Bechter.
All right, welcome in. Prodigal and the Priest and me, question edition of our podcast. So glad that you all could join us. Before we start, just want to remind you how you can submit a question. Some people have asked me. And also some people said, well, I don't want to submit this. Probably everybody else knows this. No. There's no question we won't dive into.
Yeah. Favorite shape.
Yeah. Shape, sandwiches.
There's something about a refrigerator, right? Wasn't that one?
Yeah, with the light.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I still have people that come up to me in church and say, you know what pizza you need to try?
Yeah, the pizza one was, I think, it affected people a lot. Like it had a reach.
It cut
to the heart. It's very polarizing.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so just to reiterate, if you would like to submit a question, you can do that one of a few ways. You could always just on our Instagram message us and say, hey, could you forward this to the guys? Hey. And they'll know who the guys are. Second, you could go to our website, santamparish.org/PTP, or you could go, you could just email us directly at our Gmail account, prodigalandthepriest@gmail.com. So I really hope you take advantage of that, and yeah, it'd be great. All right, let's jump into it. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Trying to drink this tea.
So this one is from Jack.
It's really hot.
Jack is asking, give a little context. Remember back before Christmas when I was saying it's tough that we have so many people that haven't been around the church practicing the faith. Almost, I wish we could give them another type of service that wasn't a mass, because we talked about the mass for disciples, all that.
Right.
Okay, just context. Jack says, I was listening to your podcast on the way home from church tonight when I heard Joey mention a service type option with music and perhaps some sort of thing that is not the mass. It hit me. Doesn't the church have this? In fact, I'm not sure how it works in the Latin rite, but in the Byzantine rite, we celebrate Vespers and other things and many other services throughout the liturgical, my page cut off, year as a form of public worship that is not the Eucharistic celebration. For the faithful, these services are often a means of preparation to receive communion at the Divine Liturgy. For others, these services are means encountering Christ and learning more about the church. The hymns and prayers are catechetical in nature, and there is often, at least pre-COVID, some sort of social gathering afterwards. Next paragraph. Vatican II's Constitution on the Sacred Liturgy states that the hours are prayed by the faithful and the priests in their approved forms, that they are truly the voice of the bride addressed to her bridegroom. It is the very prayer which Christ himself, together with his body, addresses to the Father. Next paragraph, question, I think. Here we go. Would it be possible to celebrate one or more of these in a Latin rite parish, especially during major feasts? Are the hours ever prayed in parishes with the faithful together, as mentioned in Sacrosanctum Concilium? I look forward to hearing your thoughts.
Yeah.
Jack, that was very
awesome.
Jack,
You get
the applause button, Jack. Thank you.
Yeah.
So
I know which Jack this is.
That's
go. That's a great question, Jack. So we do have Vespers and all those things. They are meant to be, I think in the vision of Vatican II, but really just like historically also the Latin Church, is that they are these big sort of occasions, just like you described in the Byzantine Church. But just they haven't taken such root. Like I know during Lent in like Byzantine Lent, that like those are really big deals. I've never gotten a chance to go to one, but we'll talk about that some other time. So Sunday Vespers, for instance, is meant to be a really big thing. You can see that in all the documents, in the introduction to the Liturgy of the Hours, I think even in Sacrosanctum Concilium from Vatican II, you can see like that's meant to be a really big thing at the parish, so that this can be sort of Christ praying in and with his church and the voice of the people praying and just
every Sunday at Franciscan we had that.
Yeah.
Did you guys do that at UD?
Students,
like in the chapel?
Students would do it. We would chant Compline every night, so night prayer.
Nice.
As kind of a student thing, which I loved. That was the first time I'd ever heard anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we do actually have that. One thing, the only time we really do it regularly here at St. Anne,
right,
is with our current pastoral year seminarian, Greg Scatini, in the context of adoration.
The big Scatini.
Yes, Scatini. Joey likes his last name.
Well, we're both from the Northeast too.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
Greg's a Pennsylvania guy, so we got connections.
All right. Yeah, you got
Shout
the
out
Italian
Greg.
thing. Anyway, he's been doing evening prayer. Been leading evening prayer here on Wednesday nights and giving kind of a reflection in the context of evening prayer. And he's really doing a good job. Like, I really encourage you to come and see.
It's part of the closing of our adoration.
It's sort of in the middle now.
Okay.
So adoration starts at 5 p.m. on Wednesdays.
In our assembly room.
In our assembly room, the old church. And at about 5:45, I think they'll start evening prayer, and then in the context of that, he'll give a reflection, and it's good stuff. So that is just the Liturgy of the Hours in general, as even a devotion that people do at home in their families, I think is also part of the desire of the church, because it's such a treasure that we have. But so there's a whole bunch of different ways that it can kind of impact our lives. It can be something we pray individually at home as kind of a private devotion. We can pray it together with our families, and we can pray it together as a parish. Actually, in pre-COVID times, before the 7 a.m. Mass, they would always pray morning prayer here. I don't know if you knew that. Deacon Pete would always lead it.
Nice.
COVID's been a weird year in a lot of ways, so we haven't been doing that. But to be able to do something like that in kind of a regular way, so that people know when it is, and in a beautiful way, kind of a solemn way. Like, you can use incense and everything. We would do this at the seminary all the time, and we would call it Awesome Vespers. And we would just first of all, we would pray morning prayer and evening prayer together every day, all of the seminarians, and that would be a big thing. Right. But then even when we were off, we were still expected to pray, and we were encouraged to gather into groups to pray.
Right.
And so on Saturday evenings, we would gather into a group in the crypt chapel and have awesome Vespers and get incense and get a student priest to come and lead it and everything, and try and make it big. I think it's really, really important to do things like that, to remind ourselves of that God has the first place, that he deserves the first place, and he deserves us doing kind of wasteful things for him.
Mm-hmm.
We need that. It helps unseat the idols which want to sort of
and if you're
over.
Unfamiliar with the Liturgy of the Hours,
a
good, I don't know if you agree with this, but I've seen it work for people, that instead of just jumping in and being confused a lot, the Magnificat actually does kind of a shorter little version for morning and night, at least you can start to get the feel, and before you fully kind of make the leap. So just want to toss that out.
A very common website / app that people use is called iBreviary. Breviary is another word for the Liturgy of the Hours. Basically, it refers to the volumes as being shorter than what the monks would use. So breviary, iBreviary.
And there's an app.
Yeah, that's an app that a ton of people will use. It's been approved for use even liturgically, although like you don't really want to use your phone if you don't have to.
Right.
But it's been approved for priests to pray, for instance, and fulfill their obligation with it. So it's the real thing. One other note on that, not to dwell too long, but like the Liturgy of the Hours is one of the things that sort of brought me into seminary. I started praying it before I was a seminarian, and it really started to affect my life in a really good way. Like I had no idea it existed until I was introduced to it by some friends at University of Dallas, and then started to pray it. And then I actually asked my mom for a birthday gift one time. She was like, "What do you want for your birthday?" I was like, maybe like the sort of smaller version of the Liturgy of the Hours. And she got me like the 4-volume set,
Nice.
which is like the big version.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I'll never use this. And within like a week, I was just completely all in, and loved it. Like it really is a beautiful treasure. And the whole reason, so there was it used to be much longer. This was one of the changes of Vatican II with the ordinary form. So the extraordinary form of the breviary is longer and has to be prayed in Latin. It's less accessible in general to the lay faithful, and is something sort of like more in the domain of religious and priests and stuff like that. A big part of the revision to it was so that it could be encouraged as the prayer of the whole church together, because while this is something that's required of priests and religious to pray every day, like it should be something that's made available to everyone because it's that important and that beautiful.
Yeah.
That sort of formative of our spiritual lives.
Absolutely. Jack, thanks for the question.
Great question, Jack.
This one is anonymous, but I think it's pretty good. Hello. Y'all have talked about fraternal correction a few times, but I'm wondering what are the boundaries for this type of correction? Obviously, shouldn't correct a random stranger, but who are the type of people that I should correct? In other words, what type of relationship should I have with that person if I am to correct them? I've heard from a good priest that fraternal correction should only be done with someone you have superiority or better position over them, i.e. maybe older age or that type of thing. I'm not sure I completely agree with that. I hope this makes sense. Sorry if it doesn't. Thank you, and I love the podcast.
Ooh,
thank you.
Thank you, Anon.
Yeah. Anon.
That's a good question too.
Can I toss out something real quick
please,
to start with it? So, I mean, if you just actually look at the first part of the word when we're talking about, fraternal correction. Linguist. What is fraternal?
Frater, brother.
Brother. So I'm not
Sibling.
saying the priest is wrong, okay? Because, people get mad at those types of statements by lay people. But what I am saying is that's a brotherly connection. The times that I've felt that I've been able to fraternally correct someone or enter into that dialogue is when we have a relationship, not me as a superiority, but me as, let's talk brother to brother, let's talk friend to friend, someone I've developed a relationship with, someone I've gotten to know, someone who knows that I'm not coming from a point to just attack and say, do better, I don't know. I just want to toss that out.
That's exactly right. That's what I was going to say, but you actually said it better and with more things than I was going to say. So,
I get one every 40 questions.
So, because like fraternal correction is between brothers, it's between equals. If you have a relationship of superiority over somebody, you're either their parent, so it's paternal or maternal correction, or you are their boss at work, and that's a different relationship as well.
Absolutely.
Fraternal correction is talking about a relationship of equals, basically. Not to go against what that other priest said.
Yeah.
But which means that you need a relationship of intimacy. This is something that I think I've said on the podcast before. I heard somebody say it one time, and it really struck me. Like, people are only able to receive communication in a level proportionate to your level of intimacy with them.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I can say a lot of things, but it might not be received if we don't actually trust each other.
Right.
And maybe it's important for me to say those things in a prophetic way, even if they're not received well, but that's not the same thing as like this kind of fraternal correction. So it's hard to say, when this should be done, because that's a prudential decision. It's not, you just take principles and then you try and apply them as best as you can with the virtue of prudence. But because it's a prudential decision, I can't say, well, definitely in this case, but not in that case, but not in that case. There's too many cases.
Mm-hmm.
The basic thing is that we owe each other in charity, out of love, to speak out when we see that they are doing something that's hurting themselves or hurting others. It makes sense to us if we think in terms of like medical stuff, right? Or behavioral things in like the public. But when it comes to moral lives, we can kind of shy away as like, that's not my place.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just not true. Like, people might reject you for it, or they might take it badly and then come back around and be like, you know what, you were right. And I really appreciate that because I know that you just said it out of love. But like, it is an act of love it's actually an act of mercy. It's part of the spiritual works of mercy, correction of someone who needs it. So
Right.
it's not to say that like, you become the the police, and you start issuing tickets wherever you see somebody going astray. But like, if you do have a sufficient level of trust with somebody, where
Right.
you can have a conversation about this, even if it's going to be kind of difficult,
Yep.
and where you know that you can communicate that this is coming from a place of love and not judgment,
Right.
and a desire for them to, encounter God's mercy, then like, that's the kind of thing we're talking about.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't restrict that.
Right. Great.
Yeah.
Next question. Father Paul, currently struggling with reconciling faith with having a desire for God. I feel like I've never really felt that jubilation moment. I feel love for my wife and children, yet desire for God just isn't there. My faith feels flat or incomplete. I've tried following you have to know the Lord before you can love the Lord, but I find my disinterest is so strong that when trying to read or otherwise learn about the Lord, I can't focus and wander. How does one cultivate a love for God when the desire is missing? I guess to sum it up, I want that road to Emmaus moment where my heart burns with desire for the Lord. I feel as if something is wrong with me because I can feel emotions for family, but why is that so hard for God? I want my faith to be more than just following some prescribed set of actions, going to Mass, going to confession, etc. This is from John.
Yeah, great question. And thank you for sharing and for being, that vulnerable in the question. So I don't know. Feelings are tricky. Feelings are really important. I don't want to dismiss feelings, but they're also very tricky. Like, we don't have much control over them. They're not our reason. They're not our will. They're our feelings.
Yep.
And in more philosophical language, they're called passions because they're passive, something that acts upon us and we feel.
Right.
They're not, actions, things that we can do, active.
Right.
So I think that's an important first thing to recognize is like, it's probably not your fault if you don't feel something. And when it comes to the life of prayer, God sometimes grants us like a good feeling in prayer, but that's not really what prayer is about. And it's sort of an isolated gift when he does. But that's an important thing to distinguish from like, I don't know, the peace and the love of faith. Like, you might have dry prayer, but that doesn't mean that you always feel distant from God or something. I don't know. So that's just a little prelude. Like it's a little tricky to dissect some of these things from a distance, and to look for causes. So instead, what I'm going to recommend is something that I've been thinking about a lot over this past year, and have spoken about on different occasions, and have been just mulling over and trying to live in my own life. And I actually gave a sort of 8-talk retreat on this topic to our seminarians a little while ago, and so it's a lot more than I can say just right now. But like, I have found that one of the best ways, and the ways that it seems like people pay so little attention to, for keeping the first commandment, right? To put God really in the first place. One of the best ways to do that is to keep the third commandment, keep holy the Sabbath day. And the way I see it is that means that keeping Sunday as a day set apart, a day kadosh in Hebrew, the way the Ten Commandments read, they say both in Exodus and Deuteronomy, it says, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. L'kodsho, to keep it kadosh. Kadosh means set apart. So it's something that is set apart as a place where we can encounter God. It's sacred time.
Right.
And that's hard for us to do. Like, we don't really want to do that. We want to, take back some of that time for ourselves, or I don't know. It's just, it requires some sacrifice. And in making that kind of sacrifice, even in smaller iterations throughout the week, like setting apart a holy time of 30 minutes for prayer every morning, even if I don't feel a whole lot, like that, just the very act of being faithful to setting apart those periods of time for God, helps kind of put everything in its proper place.
Right.
And so helps us keep the first commandment. And I find that, like, it's not, it's not magic and it's not mechanical, but normally when we do put everything in its proper place, that's when our hearts are able to catch on fire a little bit more.
Right.
But that's not to say, like, just do this thing and then you'll get this feeling.
Right.
That's not how it works either. And so just to make this brief and very practical, like, what I've found for myself is that it's like a 3-legged stool, basically, and you need all 3 legs. One leg is your prayer, is your time set apart for just prayer with God and not multitasking anything else each day. That's like a mini Sabbath for the day. Another thing is to observe some form of grand silence every night, where you put your devices to bed, and this is time set apart for God and for family, but not for work and not for consumption of media.
Right.
And that lasts until, ideally, you've said your meditation or your prayer in the morning. So to keep kind of like the last moments of the night and the first moments of each day is something consecrated for God.
Right.
So that's during the week, and that's all sort of ordered to, like, the big thing, which is keeping the Sabbath day holy as a day set apart for worship and for rest. And so if you can honestly call something worship or rest, then, like, it's probably something that would be good to do, to take advantage of this great gift of a day set apart for God and for intimacy with Him.
Right.
I don't, like, there's a lot more that could be said about that, but just to say, like, for myself, I find the more strict I am with trying to set those things apart for God, the more sort of the music comes back into my heart, and it starts to be able, like, have space to sing, kind of thing. It's good for us to sacrifice things to God in that way. We kind of need that. And so, like, I'm not able, like I said, to diagnose really what's going on in your life, but I know that that's something that pretty much everybody in our culture struggles with.
Mm-hmm.
And that if we do try and observe it, we see it as like, well, I'm commanded to do this, and we don't see it as this great gift to like give us, room to walk in the garden with God as we were created to.
Right.
So I don't know. That's a little just summary answer, I guess.
And I guess the only other thing I would add to that is to say it can also be helpful to talk to a spiritual director who gets to find out those things about you and walk with you and journey with you, and hear those habits, hear those, just like we would go to a doctor and say, these are my symptoms, I'm not feeling well, like spiritual doctor, and say,
no, that's
so. Yeah, just toss that out. All right, last but not least, 2 questions is, who do you guys got in the Super Bowl?
TB12.
Is that who you're rooting for or who you think is going to win?
I think it would be awesome if Tom Brady won, just for the historical value of it. But I think the Chiefs are going to win. And I'm not sad about that.
Do they cover the spread of Vegas?
I didn't look at the spread. 5 points?
I think it was 5.
I think they do. I think they cover.
Let's make sure that's...
what do you think?
I want to make sure the spread is correct. So let's see. Wow, does this one say the point spread is 3 now? Huh. If it's 3...
Tampa Bay's got a good defense, but like, I just can't bet against... Well, I'm not going to bet anyway, but I can't bet against Pat Mahomes and just how dominant he is and how many... offensive
Kansas
weapons
City
they have, and
ridiculous.
Andy Reid and his crazy genius.
Yeah.
It's the mustache.
I don't know about that.
The key to all his success.
Yeah, I think the Chiefs win by 2 touchdowns. But if on Monday morning the Bucks won, and because of something, it's like the Bermuda Triangle. Just something weird takes place when you play Tom Brady.
It's
and
true.
Like people tend to collapse, and I mean the Falcons.
It may not
won.
look like he's even playing very well, but they find a way to win.
Yeah, I mean, ask our seminarian Greg about his feelings about Tom Brady. He's not a big fan, but
he'll throw shade.
Yeah. And yeah, he almost did give away the game against the Packers and all that, but they ended up winning.
He didn't.
But he didn't, and they're in the Super Bowl.
And
so
he did what the Cowboys haven't done in the NFC for 25 years? 20?
When was you would know better. When's the last Super Bowl?
I don't know history.
You don't know. Maybe sports history.
Sports history. I know some other history.
You know some other history. So I think, we'll just end. Well, there was another one about the Super Bowl. You want me to just toss it out real quick? What are your guys' opinion that Monday after the Super Bowl should be a national holiday? Have you heard this?
No, but I'm kind of okay with it.
It's kind of funny the days we do give as national holidays, and for the amount of people that gather and late on this Sunday, I'd be fine with it.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't say no.
I mean, your day off is Monday, so
so it doesn't matter for me anyway.
Yeah. So, and you have the 4:30 mass though during Super Bowl time.
I do. Yeah, it's a sacrifice I make. I've laid down my life, served the people. Missed the first 10 minutes of the Super Bowl.
What the heck?
Yeah, what happened there?
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, Chiefs.
Yeah,
Go Chiefs.
go Chiefs. Pat
By
Mahomes, Texan.
They win by 14. That's what I said.
All right.
Behalf of Joey Scansella, Father Paul Bechter, remember, submit those questions. Prodigal and the Priest, gmail.com, stparish.org/PTP. Take care.
God bless.